Edge of Eternities has some great cards hidden in its bulk, so let's take a look at them. Hello everybody and welcome back into the fort. My name is Tyler, Saves Ya Bucks, and Edge of Eternities is here. Goodbye Final Fantasy. We're shooting off into space. Pre-release is happening today, so hopefully you're out at a local game store cracking packs and trying to win. I know I am. But as always, I'm going to sit down right now and talk about some of my favorite bulk cards in the set. That's commons and uncommons that can fit in really any deck, budget, or super expensive. These will put in work for whatever strategy you're looking for. So let's get right into it. Starfield Shepherd is 3 white and has a warp cost for 2. So warp is, I'll just read it here. You may cast this card from your hand for its warp cost, exile this creature at the beginning of the next end step, then you may cast it from exile on a later turn. So it is an angel 3/2 with flying, and when it enters, search your library for a basic plains card or a creature with mana value 1 or less, reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle. Really good in the early game with that 2 mana cost to go get you a land or to go get you a creature that you might want. You know, if you're a little bit more expensive, like I was talking about, Esper Sentinel's 1 mana. This is just great value both in the early game and late game. I wouldn't overlook this one. Let's move on to our next card, Emergency Eject. It is 2 and a white for an instant. Destroy target non-land permanent. Its controller creates a lander token. So lander tokens are basically like little Wayfarer's baubles. You can pay 2, sacrifice it, and go get a land onto the field tapped. I have been taking cards like Generous Gift and Stroke of Midnight out of some of my decks because in most of my white decks, I want the board to be clear of blockers. And even though Stroke of Midnight gives somebody a 1/1, that's enough to block what I'm trying to send through. And this is a way to give somebody a non-creature permanent that they might not even crack and get that land. I really think this is going to be strong in a lot of commander decks. Put it off to the side, put it in your binder because it could come in handy when you're building your next deck. Desculpting Blast is 1 and a blue for an instant. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If it was attacking, create a 1/1 colorless drone artifact creature token with flying, and it can only block creatures with flying. I like bounce spells in Commander. It's a great tempo play for somebody to have a big permanent that they just got out that you put back in their hand and make them spend their whole turn getting it back out again. Or even if they cheat something out, this is a way to be like, no, pay full price for that. But when it comes to this, it's a little bit like a mini Aetherize in a way. People are attacking you with a big creature with a bunch of auras and equipment on it. You get to bounce that thing and get a little flyer being like, hey, look at what I got. And you got your thing in your hand. Everybody's happy. It'll make for some funny moments in games. Funny for you and maybe other people, maybe not the opponent. Moving on to Scour for Scrap. 3 and a blue for an instant. Choose 1 or both. Search your library for an artifact card, reveal it, put it into your hand and shuffle, or return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. And that or is an and or because you can do both. I think a lot of players skipped over that. They're like, oh, both of these are so strong. Surely you can only do one. No, and don't call me Shirley. You can do both. And in an artifact deck, of course, this could go draw you the best artifact in your deck while also get back something that somebody tried to remove earlier on in the game. Super strong, and at instant speed, it will definitely catch people by surprise before they have time to do anything about it. Moving on to black, we have Decode Transmissions, 2 and a black for a sorcery. You draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. We have a lot of these in Magic already, but the little twist that this has is Void, which is if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell was warped this turn, instead you draw 2 cards and each opponent loses 2 life. Again, this is just a good replacement if you already have some of the 3 mana draw 2, lose 2 in your deck. And maybe even if your deck is based around lowering people's life totals or like a Rakdos Lord of Riot deck, this is a really cool way to do that. And the fact that any non-land permanent needs to leave the battlefield to trigger that void cost, it can possibly happen all the time in the right deck. I like this card a lot. Keeping with black, we have Umbral, Collar, Zealot. This is 1 and a black for a 3/2 human cleric. Sacrifice another creature or artifact, surveil 1. Very similar to Viscera Seer, which is 1 mana, sacrifice a creature, scry 1. And this is 1 mana more, but it has a couple other dials turned that makes it really, really great in a lot of decks. It's the fact that you can also sacrifice an artifact and it surveils. So this makes it pretty good in aristocrats, of course, but also graveyard decks. You want to put something back in there to recur later. And then if you have just a bunch of maps or clues or food laying around that you want to sacrifice, you can also sacrifice those artifacts with this. Don't overlook this card. It's going to really, really shine in a lot of strategies. Every time I want to say this card, I want to say Seussian, like Dr. Seuss, but I think it's Seusserian, Voidborn. This is 2 and a black for a 2/2 vampire soldier. Whenever this creature or another creature or artifact you control dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Warp for 1. Very similar to a lot of cards, again, that we already have, but the fact that it has that warp is what makes it really interesting to me. Plus, it's a vampire, so it goes well in a lot of vampire decks. But it's the fact that you can pay 1 mana, get it onto the board, and then possibly board wipe or sack a bunch of creatures to the one we just talked about where you can sack and surveil. Getting it out for just 1 mana to do 1 big blowout turn and switch life totals around basically is enough to consider this in a lot of black decks. And as you see there, it's already running about $2. I'm sure prices will fluctuate, but I think this one will sit around that price for a little bit of time. Ruinous Rampage is our first red card, and I talked about this on an EDH Rec article that I did this week, so you can check it out there. Plus, I have one coming out next week with even more bulk cards. Some of them aren't going to be in this video, some of them are. A lot of them have to do with lander tokens, and I will be doing a video very soon about lander tokens because I have a lot to say on the matter. But when it comes to this card, this is a good example of reading the card and looking at some of your decks and trying to see what your deck doesn't do. And the fact that this card might be a blowout for the rest of the table, but not for you. I'll read it super quick. 3 mana, sorcery, choose 1, deals 3 damage to each opponent, or exile all artifacts with mana value 3 or less. So again, if you, just have a bunch of artifact players in your play group and then you happen to look at some of your decks and it's like, hey, I barely run any artifacts in here. This would be a blowout for everyone else except for me. So maybe if I have a slot, just throw this in there instead of a really big expensive board wipe. Maybe this is enough to set yourself above the rest in a particularly metal-filled match that you may be in. Weft Stalker Ardent is 2 and a red for 2/3 Drix Artificer. Drix is a new creature type for Magic. Whenever another creature or artifact you control enters, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent and has warp for 1 as well. This is very similar to the vampire that we talked about, where the fact that you can warp it in for 1 mana, have it on the battlefield for a turn where you're going to make a bunch of artifact tokens or a bunch of creature tokens. This is, get it down, then pay into an X spell, get a whole big board, and then lower everybody else's life totals. It's really, really great for a lot of decks. And again, if you're, as opposed to the card that we just talked about, if you're in a deck where you're constantly putting out artifacts, this could be just a nice value piece to add to it. And Drix are cool. If you know anything about what they do in the story and whatnot, they're cool. Melt Strider Eulogist is 2 and a green for an insect soldier. Whenever a creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it dies, draw a card, and it's a 3/3. Listen, of course, very narrow. This is good in 1/1 counter decks, but it's amazing in those decks. If you have a deck with a bunch of Hydras, it's good in it. If you have a deck where your commander puts counters on a bunch of your creatures, it's good in it. This is just a great way to keep your hand full. Even when people are dealing with your board, all of a sudden, you're drawing more cards and having more threats as the game goes on. And for 3 mana, it is a good rate. Pull from the Weft is 3 green for a sorcery. Return up to 2 target non-land permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. Then return up to 2 target land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Super strong in graveyard decks, of course. It's basically draw 2 cards, 2 of the best cards you've played this turn, and put 2 of the best lands that you've sacrificed in whatever way back onto the battlefield. It's like a board refresh. I like this card a lot. Plus the art is really, really cool. It's super strong, again, for graveyard decks. But even if you just, again, look at some of your decks and realize that you're consistently putting things in your bin, this is just a way to say, hey, this deck could use the Pull from the Weft because I can get back that and get back this and ramp a little bit. Yeah, that'll smooth out your game into the later turns. Now on to 2 artifacts that I want to hear your opinion on because they're a little bit of a head scratcher for me. All Fate's Scroll is a 3 mana rock, and we ask this question on the channel and on my bulk up series for EDH Rec all the time. Is this 3 mana rock good enough in Commander? Let's take a look. So of course it taps for a mana of any color, but also it is 7 mana, tap, sacrifice this artifact, draw X cards, where X is the number of differently named lands you control. That is really strong when it comes to Commander, especially in 3, 4, 5 color decks. You're going to consistently have just differently named lands so that you have different mana to work with. And this is super strong in that, but is it good enough? That's the question. It's basically 8 mana because you're tapping this as well to draw, I don't know, say 6, 7 cards by the time you get to this. Maybe you put it in a Lands Matter deck where you're ramping a whole lot, and you can crack this at instant speed too. Leave a bunch of mana up and then about to get to your turn and draw 7 cards out of nowhere. It's, again, it's a head scratcher. Let me know what you think about that in the comments, as well as Survey Mechan, 4 mana for a 1/3 flying hexproof robot. All great things, but it has 10 mana. Sacrifice this creature. Deals 3 damage to any target. Target player draws 3 cards and gains 3 life. This ability costs X less to activate, where X is the number of differently named lands you control. So in, again, a lands deck, this could cost very, very little. In your standard deck, it might, like standard as in run-of-the-mill, or even a standard deck if you're building that, it can cost, half this, so 5 mana. So that's the question, is how cheap does that ability have to be to basically cast Ancestral Recall and Lightning Helix? Oh my god. How much? Is 5 mana too much? What about 4, 3? It's even free in some instances. Let me know in the comments what you think about this one, as well as, like I said, the last card, All Fate's Scroll, because again, these are just ways to put them off to the side instead of in a bulk pile that will collect dust. Put both of these cards in your binder, and if a deck needs a little bit more ramp and a little bit more card draw, All Fate's Scroll can go in there, or a little bit more removal, a little bit more card draw. You can put the Survey Mechan in that deck. Just good toolbox cards to have around, but let me know what you think about those. So there you have it, some of my favorite commons and uncommons from this new set. Which one is your favorite? Did I miss any of them? And remember, very soon I will be doing a video about all of the Lander token makers, so be on the lookout for that, as well as my next bulk up, which is coming Tuesday to EDH Rec. Again, links will be to all of this stuff. And a little bit of channel news before we finish up. I am opening things up to having channel members for the channel. I will give a lot more info very soon when it goes live as to what the stages or layers or whatever they're called, the benefits are. There's a cheaper option to make you a fort soldier that gets you, well, again, like I said, I will tell you soon. And then a little bit more money to be a fort mage, and that gets you everything in the layer before it, as well as some other benefits. I will be showing some of them off very soon. So if you want to support me, you can like, subscribe, comment. All of that really, really, really does help. But also, if I've helped save you a little bit of bucks over these weeks, months, and years I've been doing this, throw a few of those my way. It really, really, really does help. I think I mentioned in a video recently, I have a lot of stuff going on in my life right now, and I'm trying to do everything I can to double down on making this type of content because I really do love it, and I love helping make the game more accessible to more and more players. So if you want to help me on that mission, join the Pillow Fort, become a soldier, become a mage, and you'll get benefits as well. I can't wait to start this new journey and have a lot of you have my back while we're building the fort together. So again, good luck with all of your Edge of Eternities pulls, and I hope to see you all next time right here in the fort. Goodbye.